Up, kings and queens? It's your boy Dan from Daft Previews, and I'm here to take you through my favorite NBA player props for this wild upcoming slate to close out the season. Before we jump into it, I want to say thank you to a couple of Daft Previews All-Stars. We've got Jamaican 876, Philip Harden, Sol Romero, and Rashid Clayton. I want to say thank you guys for all the support. If you guys are interested in becoming a Daft Previews All-Star like these wonderful gentlemen, click on that join button below. Now, if this is your first time watching these videos, I pretty much do this every night. I share Outlier, share my screen. We go through all the different plays that I like. I'll tell you why. And then at the end of the video, when you're done watching it, scroll on down, check the pinned comment, and you'll see the bets that I choose to run on. Now, before we jump into it, I just want to say I do not like this slate at all. There's a lot of games that mean something. There's a lot of games that don't. There's a lot of people on the injury report, so we don't necessarily know what's happening. And I also have the feeling that some players will be pulled out of a game about 3/4 of the way through, depending on how other games go. So, letting you know, I'm going to be a bit cautious on this slate. I'm not going to put too much money into it, but I know you're here for some picks and some previews. Let's go. All right, we got a stack of games to get through, but letting you know now, it's probably not going to be a long video because there's a lot of players that are out, so I'm not going to invest too much time into every single game. But let's jump into it. So starting with the Atlanta Hawks versus the Indiana Pacers. Now, firstly, does this game have much importance? Well, it does to the Indiana Pacers. So if things go their way and the Pacers win, the highest they can go up to is 5. But in order for that to happen, they have to win or Orlando needs to lose. So they can go as high as 5. And if they do happen to lose this game, they could drop down to 8. So the Pacers, deservingly, massive favorites in this one. I think the line is like 14 or 15 points. For Atlanta, they've already clinched their spot in the play-in, so they've got nothing to play for. Trae Young is scheduled to play for this game, but he's really just warming up, so we can see very reduced minutes from him. The other guys, DeJounte Murray, Bogdanovic, Hunter, Capella, they're all going to play, but I seriously question how many minutes the Atlanta Hawks players are going to get. So I've got no picks on them. I think the Pacers win this game quite easily. But talking about player props, who do we like and why do we like them? So I do like Obi Toppin as my first one. So in my last video, I did bet on Obi Toppin. Pretty much he's got excellent recent form coming into this game. So check this out. Obi Toppin, I'm looking at his points plus his assists. His points prop's pretty good too, but his assists, I think it gives us a better chance of cashing. Line's at 10.5. He's hit this in 7 of his last 10. He's cashed in 6 consecutive games now. As you can see, the bar's very very green, and he's been going well above it. In terms of matchup, great matchup against the Atlanta Hawks, who allow the 3rd most points to power forwards. They also allow the 8th most assists to power forwards. Now, Obi Toppin, he's a game time decision in this game. So if he plays, I do like it. If he doesn't, then nothing to lose. But I don't believe the Pacers are going to run their starters that hard, especially if they got this game wrapped up nice and early. So we should see reduced minutes from Pascal, Miles Turner, perhaps. And hopefully Obi Toppin's feeling healthy and he's good to go and he gets more minutes. Jalen Smith, a similar type of player to Obi Toppin. He's also on the game time decision list. They both have left ankle sprains. So we'll see who turns up. But based off this recent form, I can't ignore it for Obi Toppin. I do like it. So that's my very first pick in this game. The other pick that I don't mind for this one is Miles Turner. Where's my boy Miles? Now, given the way that the game should flow for Miles Turner, I'm specifically looking at the first quarter only. He could see reduced minutes here, but let's have a look at this. So his line in the first quarter is 4.5 points. It's plus money, so you know how I feel about that. I love it. The matchup's not the worst. The Hawks rank 16th in points allowed to centers, which is middle of the pack, so not too concerned about the matchup there. He's cashed this in 7 of his last 10, averaging 5.5 points per game in the first quarter. And if we look at head-to-head matchups, he's done quite well, cashing in 3 out of his last 4 against the Atlanta Hawks. So the hit rate, very strong here for Miles Turner. He often hits a 3-pointer in the first quarter too. So if you can make a 3, we only need 1 other bucket. Research I'm going to do. He's obviously playing 7.6 minutes. I don't have to research that. But what I'm going to look into is his shot attempts. I'm going to check out the volume, see how many shots he's putting up in that first quarter. But given the way that the game's going to play, I think first quarter props are probably the best ones to take for a game just like this. So, yeah, Miles Turner in the first quarter, that's something that I'm looking at. Outside of that, there's nothing really in this game that I like. Nothing for Spicy P, nothing for Tyrese Halliburton. Given the number of games that are on, I don't want to get crazy and just take a whole lot of unders because that can blow up in my face real quick. But jumping to the next game, it's the Brooklyn Nets. Who are they up against? The Philadelphia 76ers. So Joel Embiid's a game time decision in this one. Maxey, Harris, all good to go. In terms of implications for the playoffs, what are we looking at here? So the Nets versus 76ers, Philly can clinch the 5 seed if they win, but Indiana have to lose as well. They can get the 6 seed if they win, in Indiana win, and Orlando lose. They'll clinch the 7th. The 7th if Orlando, Indiana, and Miami win, if and they win. Jesus. So they're saying 7th. If they lose, there's a potential chance that they fall to 8. So it's a pretty important game for the Philadelphia 76ers. What I do like about this is they have pretty much all the East Coast games being played at the same time, so no one can fuck around with it and start tanking. And all the West Coast games, they start 2 hours after that. So, but I'm sure people are going to be checking the scores live anyway to give them an indication whether they should or should not pull their players. In this particular game, 2 players that I like. The first one is Tobias Harris. Now, this is not Tobias Harris. Jesus, can't believe I said that. I hate Tobias Harris. Kelly Oubre is what I'm looking at. And his lines are quite low in this game, so that does concern me a little bit. But the same thing happened with RJ Barrett the last game against Miami. His line was at 19.5. I said, this is too low. They must know something. He goes out there and scores 31 points. So I know that this game is important to the Philadelphia 76ers. I also know Kelly Oubre has been balling as of late. So his points prop, it's only at 12.5 at the moment. May move. I don't think it will move. I think odds will just get a little bit worse as more people back it. But looking at the numbers here, line's at 12.5. He's cashed this in 8 of his last 10 games. 7 consecutive games now. Kelly Oubre has cashed this. In terms of the matchups, got a great matchup here. Brooklyn Nets allow the 4th most points to small forwards on the season. Kelly Oubre has also had some success against the Brooklyn Nets. 16 and 30 points in his last 2 games against Brooklyn. I will tell you that Joel Embiid did not play in both of these games where he versed the Brooklyn Nets, so you have to factor that in. But you might not need to, because I'll factor it in for you. Looking at his games with Joel Embiid in the lineup, we can see that Kelly Oubre has still cashed this in 7 of his last 10 games, 6 consecutive games now. So since Embiid has come back from his injury against OKC, Kelly Oubre's cashed in 5 consecutive games. So don't sweat it. Kelly Oubre, I do like that. And I also like his first quarter points here for Kelly Oubre. The line's at 2.5. He's cashed this in 8 of his last 10. Joel Embiid, how many games he's been back for most of these games. It is a good looking play. Let's just check it. Games with Embiid. Kelly Oubre has cashed in 4 consecutive games now with Embiid. So Embiid's been back for 5. Oubre's cashed this line in 4 straight. Line's at only 2.5. Makes 1 3-pointer. And we laughing. So I don't mind that play either. The other pick that I like is a Joel Embiid one. He is a game time decision, of course. We don't know whether he's going to play or not. But I think this one correlates well with the Kelly Oubre play. So I actually don't mind his assist line in this one, 4.5. Now, the numbers are a little bit crazy if you're relying on trends. He's only hit this in 5 of his last 10, averaging 4.3 assists per game. In terms of the matchup, the Nets' 5th fewest assists to centers on the season. So you're probably thinking, what the hell's wrong with your bald ass? Why are you taking that play? Let me talk you through it. So in head-to-head matchups, Embiid's covered this in 2 of his last 6. Now, Joel Embiid's only played the Brooklyn Nets once this season. And in that game, he had 9 assists, 12 potential assists. So we do like that. Looking at his last 10 games, he's averaging 9 potential assists in those games. His last 2 games especially, 12 potential assists in both of them. He barely got any in Memphis. Destroyed them nice and early. Didn't really need to do too much after that. Whereas I feel like this Nets team, they're going to let him go one-on-one Nick Claxton initially. He's going to eat Nick Claxton alive, and then they're going to send the doubles his way. So hopefully he can find Kelly Oubre especially, but he's got Kyle Lowry, Tobias Harris, and Tyrese Maxey to pass the ball to. So I still need to research this a little bit further, but I do like it for Joel Embiid to go over 4.5 assists. The other prop that I considered is one that I took in the last video, which is Embiid's first quarter prop. It was at 7.5 at that time. For this game, it's at 8.5. It's minus 142. So you're probably best at taking him for 10. He did score 13 points the last time he versed Brooklyn. I can see this coming off, to be honest, because over his last 10 games, averaging 12 points per game in the first quarter. So far this season, 11.4 points per game in the first quarter. He's covered this in 29 out of 39 games, Joel Embiid. So, but if I look through the numbers here, Every time he's gone over 8.5, except for one or two, except for 2 games. So 27 out of the 39 games, Joel Embiid has scored 10 plus points first quarter. So you might want to look at an over 9.5. You get plus money for that, plus 105. So yeah, that's one that I'm considering. I don't love it to death, to be honest. That's a whole lot of points, but this man's a beast. But I'll be sure to check that one out as well. All right, jumping into the next game. It's the Milwaukee Bucks versus the Orlando Magic. Giannis is out. Wendell Carter Jr. is a game time decision. Dame Lillard's a game time decision, but he's expected to play. In terms of what the implications are for this one, there is for both teams, a bit of an incentive for both. So Milwaukee can clinch the second spot in the East if they do win, but they can drop as low as fourth if they lose and the Knicks and the Cavs win. Whereas Orlando, they can clinch the fifth spot in the East, provided they win. But they can drop as low as eighth if they lose and all the other teams around them do happen to win. So the Magic are favorites in this game. Bit of an incentive for both. So I don't mind a lot of the plays in this one. The play that I do like is probably just Brook Lopez in the first quarter. Check this out. Brook Lopez, his line is 3.5 points in the first quarter, plus 115. Tough matchup here against the Magic. The Magic pretty good defensively in most areas, apart from point guards and small forwards. But he's cashed this in 8 consecutive games now, Brook Lopez. 3.5 is a great line. 4.5, I'd probably be a bit hesitant, but at 3.5, he just needs 2 buckets, however he likes. And if we look at how he's played against the Magic in the past, he's cashed this in 5 consecutive games, averaging 6.2 points per game. So Brook Lopez does tend to score a lot of his points in the first quarter. So if you check this out, in his last 10, averaging 5.7 points per game in the first quarter. And if you look at his points line, 13.1. So about 40% of his points are scored in the first quarter. If we also look at his first quarter points, and then we filter out my man Giannis. So Brook Lopez has cashed in 6 of his last 10. 5.3 is an average without Giannis. Last 3 games since Giannis has been out, he's cashed in all 3 of them. So yeah, Brook Lopez, his first quarter prop, I do not mind that. The other player that I was considering was, I think it was Chris Middleton assists. Where's Chris? Fish face looking mother. Anyway, 5.5 assists for Chris Middleton. Check this out. Plus money. So we do like plus money. Matchup difficult 4 assists for Chris Middleton in this game. He has cashed this in 9 of his last 10, though. The hit rate is insane, but he's finished on 6 so many times. So the hit rate there is good. In head-to-head matches against Orlando, he's cashed in 2 out of his last 4. Only played them twice this season, 7 and 3 assists in those games. What concerns me a little bit about this play is just his minutes. Playing 30 minutes a night on average in his last 10. But there's been a few games. I think he got injured in this game against New York, but OKC was a blowout, so he got less. I really think there's a chance if Orlando really turn up, they could potentially blow the Bucks out in this game. Giannis, but at the same time, Bucks has quietly gotten a little bit better as of late. So, yeah, I don't love the play, but I think there's a good chance that it connects. And this is his points line, 16.5. If we check out his numbers without Giannis, last 10 games without Giannis, Chris Middleton's cashed in 6 of his last 10. Last 4 games without Giannis, he's done very well scoring the ball. And in head-to-head matchups, scored 24 points the last time he played the Magic without Giannis. So, yeah, I don't mind the points prop for him either. Or you can look at points plus assists if you want. I think assists is pretty much he's going to finish. I don't think he's got the potential to really blow out past 6 in a game like this anyway. But I think scoring might be a better option. So I'll probably have a deeper look at that. Staying in the same game, looking at someone who's had a bit of success against the Milwaukee Bucks, and we're looking at Jalen Suggs. So every man and his dog knows that the Milwaukee Bucks don't defend point guards very well. They've got a very small backcourt. Beverly's, a feisty defender, but he's actually not slowing anybody else down, to be honest. But Jalen Suggs is what I'm looking at. His points line, 14.5. I think this was 11 or 12.5 the last time he played the Bucks. He finished on 18. He's covered this in 7 out of his last 10 games, 14.2 as an average. The Bucks, third most points allowed to point guards on the season. And against the Bucks, he's covered in 2 out of his last 4. But his last 2 games were this season, and he scored 20 and 18 points. So Jalen Suggs in those games, 38 and 26 minutes, attempting 11 shots per game. Over his last 10, what do we see? He's taking about 10 shots on average, but his last 4, we've seen that slightly move up, and he's still playing about 28.5 minutes per game. So Suggs in a starting role here, 14.5. I do like that. I think if this was maybe 15 to 16.5, I probably wouldn't, but at 14.5, and the magic 15, I think I'm willing to take the bet here on Jalen Suggs, but I'll be looking into that a little bit further. Other than that, there's nothing more in that game that gets me really aroused. So let's jump into the next one. It's the Chicago Bulls versus New York Knicks. Ayo Dosunmu, Andre Drummond, game time decisions in this one. Now, in terms of playoff implications, the Chicago Bulls, they're pretty much locked into the play-in tournament anyway. They've clinched the 9th seed, so they'll be versing Atlanta. So, I don't know. They probably play their starters only for a little bit. I don't see any point in them playing any longer than that. The Knicks, they do have an incentive to win this one. So if they win this game and the Bucks lose, which they're likely to lose, the Knicks can move into the 2nd seed. And the Knicks can clinch the 3rd seed as well if they win and the Bucks win, or if they lose and the Bucks win, or yada yada yada. So they can land on 2, but they can fall as far as 4. But I don't see the Knicks losing this game. And I think all these teams in the East are really just trying to avoid Joel Embiid. Given that all these games are being played at the same time, you don't know. So, but I think the next game, it could be a game where they pull the starters in the 4th based on seeding. Who knows? But I personally don't love anything in this game. Jalen Brunson's, his lines are very high. Yes, he's been fire as of late, but just not willing to take it, to be honest. I know he's had his struggles against the Bulls in the past. They do defend point guards quite well. So, and I'm not man to take his under. Josh Hart burnt me on rebounds in the last day. So, yeah, I don't have any confidence in taking any bets on this Knicks game, but feel free to download Outlier, sign up, get my 7-day free trial, and then you can fuck around with all the numbers. Maybe you can find something juicy. On to the next one. It's the Boston Celtics versus the Washington Wizards. Now, what are these teams playing for? Absolutely nothing. Washington, trying to get that lottery pick. Boston, number 1 team in the NBA, resting everyone. Brown, Holiday, Horford, Porzingis, Tatum, and my lookalike, Derek White. Whereas the Washington Wizards, Jordan Poole's a game-time decision. Bagley, they've got a lot of players who are game-time decisions, to be honest. Kyle Kuzma's already out. So, yeah, it could be a tough one. In terms of props available, there's only lines available for Pritchard and Sam Hauser at the moment. So I already know I'm going to take Peyton Pritchard because he's an absolute beast. I've got a small sample size of data here of how Peyton Pritchard plays without all the Boston starters. But just to give you a heads up, I'm looking at an over in his points plus assists, over 34.5. Now, he's only hit this at 1% of games this year. Fair enough. But if we use Outlier's trusty tool to remove a lot of these star players, so there's only been 2 games this season. There's only been 2 games this season without the core players. Let me just remove Derek. I think Derek White played in that game, though. So everyone but Derek White played in this game. So he's had 2 opportunities to ball out without him in those games. 30 points and 11 assists, and then 31 points and 11 assists. So in both of those games, with everybody out, Peyton Pritchard has had a 30-point double-double. So I do like the over on his 34.5 points plus assists. I'm probably going to have a dabble just to see if this happens again. 30 points, 10 assists. Let's see what type of odds that we get. But, yeah, I don't mind Peyton Pritchard. He's got all the confidence in the world. When those guys are out, he shoots the ball 21.5 times. He gets 20 potential assists. Like, the whole thing operates around him, which is pretty wild. And then we've got Sam Hauser. There are props available for Sam Hauser. Now, he's got the ultimate green light when everybody's off the court. The last game, what did he do? So his points line's at 17.5, though. So he didn't even hit that in that Charlotte game. But he only played 30 minutes in that game. So if we look at the games, which is the game I'm referring to here? Without all the stars, Sam Hauser's had 1 big game, 26 points against Atlanta, and then 16 points against the Charlotte Hornets. 38 minutes is what we're looking at. 16 to 17 shot attempts is what we like to see. 6 3-pointers made as an average. So I don't know if I want to go over on his 3-point prop. 4.5, it's plus money. Didn't shoot that well against Charlotte, but Washington, somewhat decent at defending 3-pointers. So I'm thinking, do we take Sam Hauser to make 5 3-pointers because we know he's going to put them up? Or do we take him to go over 17.5 points? I think he's capable of getting 20 to 25, to be honest, but they've got some other gunners in there as well. Mikhailuk, he's not afraid to put up some shots, but there's no lines available for him. So I'll look into both. We'll see. I know I'm going to bet on Pritchard for sure. I do like what I see there. Sam Hauser, I'm still not too sure about. So, all right, jumping into the next one. It's the Toronto Raptors versus the Miami Heat. So what do we see? We know Duncan Robinson's a game time decision. Terry Rozier is out. Toronto still going to be missing everybody, but RJ Barrett is still playing. Emmanuel Quickly is out in this game. So in terms of implications here, obviously the Raptors, it doesn't mean anything to them. But for the Miami Heat, they have a chance to clinch the 5 seed if they win, but Orlando, Indiana, and Philly lose, which I highly doubt, but they can finish as high as 5 and as low as 8. So they could avoid the play-in tournament here, potentially, but they need, I think, 2 out of those 3 teams to lose, which is highly unlikely. So they're probably most likely going to finish 7th, but let's see how it goes. 2 picks that I don't mind in this game. RJ Barrett, so looking at his points prop. So I ignored this last time. I said the numbers look too good to be true. The line's moved up 1 point, 20.5. So he's cashed this in 9 of his last 10 games, averaging 24.4 points per game. Just versus the Miami Heat, scored 35 points in that game. Only shot the ball 18 times, but he's just highly efficient, shooting at 72% in that game. Although I don't expect that type of efficiency, even if he makes about 10 shots, which is, close to 50% shooting for him. I think I can see him covering this line. I do like RJ Barrett in this one. Is the only starting caliber type of player that the Raptors are going to be having on the court. Miami should coast to an easy win here, just like their last game against them. And how much did they win by? Miami won that game by 22 points. So easy win. RJ Barrett will get a lot of shots in there. Score is 21 points, I hope, and then get the fuck out of there. So do like RJ Barrett. I played Miami Heat twice, scoring 26 and 35 points. So he's had success against them this year. Hopefully that continues. The other play that I'm looking at is for Jimmy Butler. Now, I'm just looking to take an under in Jimmy Butler's PRA. Where's his PRA at? I think it's 30.5. Yep, 30.5. We're looking at the under. All right, so over his last 10 games, Jimmy's gone under the PRA of 30.5 in 8 of his last 10. Gone very far under in his last 2. Both of those games are blowouts. One's a blowout loss, one's a blowout win. I think we see another blowout win in this game, and I don't believe Jimmy needs to do too much. Tyler Hero's back. Caleb Martin's in the starting lineup. Jovic's been quietly productive, scoring some points. I just feel like Jimmy saving himself for the playoffs, baby. Wait till you get to the playoffs, and then we can start betting on Jimmy. I've got no other reason to bet on this, but apart from he's gone under this 4 straight games against the Raptors. He's gone under this 8 times in his last 10 games. And he probably doesn't give 2 fucks about this game because he's going to get to the playoffs anyway. If we think about the way that he scores and the way the Raptors play defense, Jimmy gets a lot of his points from the line. And the Raptors, they don't much. He does score some points in transition. The Raptors, surprisingly, they're okay defending the transition. Where the Raptors get absolutely smoked is on the interior, spot-up shooting. And Jimmy doesn't do neither of those. So I actually think someone like Jovic could potentially have a big game here. But Jimmy, I think I'm going to take his under 30.5. Hopefully it's a sweat-free bet. The other player I wanted to look at is Nikola Jovic because I don't think I've lost a bet on Nikola Jovic at this season. What's his line at? 10.5 points. So that's quite high. When I was betting on him, it was a lot lower than that. But let's check it out. So he's cashed in 6 out of his last 10 games. A great matchup here against the Raptors, obviously. Playing 24.5 minutes per game. And he's taking about 9 attempts on average. His last game against the Raptors, shot 9 from 18, scoring 22 points in that game. His line is only at 10.5, though. So do I see the Raptors making adjustments to slow Jovic down? Probably not. I don't know if they care too much about this game, to be honest. But yeah, Jovic's got it done against him in the past. 22 points, 10 points, 13. This was last season. So 10 and 22 points in the 2 games this season. 21 minutes and 26 minutes the last time he played them. So yeah, I don't hate this play for Jovic. I just don't like betting these sets where it's the same team back to back. So actually, I'm going to avoid that play. I'll stick with just RJ and Jimmy. We'll stick with those. The next game is the Charlotte Hornets versus Cleveland Cavaliers. Another game that doesn't really mean too much. Charlotte, they forgot that coach. I bet on Brandon Miller last time, and then like an hour before the game started, the coach puts out an announcement that he's going to be playing his starters for reduced minutes. And I don't understand why. The Charlotte Hornets ain't doing nothing. You got no playoffs to save yourself for. Just let the boy play. But they got Grant Williams, Bridges, Brandon Miller, Nick Richards, all game time decisions, even Davis Bertans. So, yeah, no markets on them. And even for Cleveland, they're missing pretty much everybody. There's only markets available for Jarrett Allen at the moment, which means they could potentially rest Mobley. They could rest Allen as well. But, yeah, I don't see them playing too many players. In terms of playoff implications, the Cavs, they can get up to the second seed, but they need the Bucks and the Knicks to lose, which I think is highly unlikely. They can get the third seed if they win and either Milwaukee or the Knicks lose. I think most people expected probably the Bucks to lose, so you can see the Cavs finishing third, but they could finish fourth if they lose and the Bucks happen to win. So, and I think if you take the fourth spot, what that guarantees, right? If you finish fourth, it means you're not versing. Oh, yeah, it's highly unlikely that you're versing Philly, is what I'm thinking. But yeah, I've got no bets on this game. Obviously, there's no markets really available for it, but should be an interesting one. Next one, the Utah Jazz versus the Golden State Warriors. Now, the Jazz obviously not in playoff contention. The Warriors are pretty much locked into the play-in tournament. Could fight for seeding if they wanted to, but looking at the players they have available for this game, they may not want to. They've got Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond, Andrew Wiggins, Kuminga, Chris Paul, all game time decisions, right? Colin Sexton is a game time decision as well for the Jazz. So, yeah, I'm not feeling anything in this game, to be honest. In terms of what it means to each team, what do we have? The Warriors, the highest they can finish is 9th, the lowest they can finish is 10th. Do own the tiebreak here against the Lakers, but yeah, I don't know if they're going to be going balls to the wall for this one. So let's jump into the next game. So Denver Nuggets versus the Memphis Grizzlies. Now, I think the only good thing, one of the great things about this being the last game of the regular season, and we don't have to see the Memphis Grizzlies play anymore. Fucking hell. They've been a pain in the ass. It's just one team you can't bet on because they're just ridiculous amount of players that they've gone through. What do we have? Nuggets at Grizzlies. Denver, they could finish first in the West if they win, but OKC and Minnesota have to lose. They'll come second if they win and either Minnesota or OKC lose, and they'll come third if they lose or if Minnesota and OKC win. So I think they're going to win anyway, regardless whether they give a shit or not. Now, whether they rest everyone or not, they probably should win this game. But looking at who's available and who is not, I'm going to make the assumption here that their whole starting five is a game time decision, and that's right. Their whole starting five is a game time decision. Memphis have 90% of their salary out for this game, so there's probably nothing to bet on, right? Well, you're wrong, because I'm going to have a small play at this guy, Jake LaRavia. Now, I don't know if you guys have been watching Memphis Grizzlies games. I've watched them by accident, but this man has been scoring as of lately. Check it out. So I know it's a very small sample. His line's at 17.5, but his last two games against Cleveland and the Lakers, 32 and 28 points. Both of these are must-win games for the Cavs. It was a pretty desperate game, and for the Lakers, a pretty desperate game. So 32 and 28 points for LaRavia in this one. We don't know who's playing for Denver, but what I do like, he's getting a shit ton of minutes, 40-plus minutes in both of those games, 18 and 13 shot attempts. He got to the line a lot against the Lakers, and he shoots a lot of threes, and he's shooting them at 44%. Like, 17.5 could be nothing for this man. So I'm going to take it. I'm going to take the bet here for LaRavia, but I might not take it at 17.5 because then I'll have to put a full 2 units on it. I think I might get spicy with it and just put half the unit for this guy to score 25 points, perhaps. Why not? I'll take a look. But that's all I got for this game. Just a very small play. We then have the Portland Trailblazers versus the Sacramento Kings. Scoot Henderson, DeAndre Ayton, Anthony Simons, Jabari Walker, game time decisions in this one. Kings pretty much playing everybody. So I think they're 100-point favorites. Close. 16.5-point favorites in this game, the Sacramento Kings. And now the Kings. The highest they can finish is 8th. The lowest they can finish is 9th. They do own the tiebreaker against the Warriors and the Lakers. But I can't see them losing this game anyway. So what needs to happen for them to drop? Let's take a look. If they win and the Lakers lose, they're 8th. If the Kings win and the Lakers win, they get 9th. Or if they lose and Golden State lose, they're 9th. But if they lose and the Warriors win, then they could potentially drop to 10th. But I don't think they're losing this game. They're going in full strength. But because they're going in full strength, I'm still not willing to take any bets on their players. They could blow this team out in a couple of quarters and then rest everybody in the fourth. So I'm pretty hesitant to bet on anything in this game because I know it's not going to be close. So let's get into the next game. It's the Detroit Pistons and the Spurs. This means nothing to nobody. I'd be surprised if everyone even televises this. But Wemby's out. So we've seen Wemby for this year. We'll see him next year. For the Pistons, Duran and Cunningham, game time decisions. But Cunningham most likely won't play because he's been showing up on this injury report for a very long time and he never plays. So let's jump into the next game. Hopefully it's a bit more meaningful, and I think it will be. It's the Los Angeles Lakers versus the New Orleans Pelicans. Probably the best game on the slate. Now, looking at the lineups and shit, we've got LeBron, AD, game time decisions, but they're going to play for show. For the Pelicans, though, we've got Brandon Ingram, who might make his return, which might be exciting for some basketball and Pelicans fans, but for us bettors, it is fucking awful because that cooks the Trey Murphy shit we've been doing. It cooks the CJ McCollum bets we've been taking because if Brandon Ingram is there, those things do not happen. So, in terms of implications for this game, it's a pretty important one here. So the Lakers, the highest they can finish is 8th. The lowest they can finish is 10th. So in order for the Lakers to get to 8, they need to win, and they need Sacramento and the Warriors to lose. They can finish 9th if they lose, but one of them win, and 10th if they both happen to win, and the Lakers lose. For the Pelicans, though, they have an opportunity here to clinch the 6th seed, which is pretty important because you avoid the play-in tournament. Now, in order for them to happen, they need to win this game, full stop, or they need the Phoenix Suns to lose. They can drop to 7th if they lose, and then the Phoenix Suns win. So, no surprise to see that if Brandon Ingram can play, they're probably going to play him. So they're going to take this shit real serious. In terms of what am I thinking of playing in this game? Well, I'm looking at the king here, LeBron James, the greatest stat patter of all time. What I'm looking at here is under in his rebounds. Under 7.5 rebounds for LeBron James. Now, his rebounding rate is just down on the season compared to his season average. His assists are up, though. He's averaging 7.6 rebounds over his last 10 games. He's gone under in 6 of his last 10. So it's not a real strong number, is it? The Pels allow the 10th fewest rebounds to small forwards on the season, which is good. But another key reason why I like this is the head-to-head. So he's gone under in 4 of his last 6. He's gone under in 4 consecutive games against the Pelicans. He's versed the Pels 3 times this year. 5, 5, and 4 rebounds. So averaging less than 5 boards a game against the Pels. And why is that? Well, one, his rebound chances are quite low in this game. He's averaging about 9 rebound chances a game against the Pelicans. If we look at his last 10, he's averaging 11.4 rebound chances. If you look at across the year, he's averaging 11 rebound chances. So against the Pels, he's only averaging 9 rebound chances. And I guess it might be hard for him to get rebounds given Zion's going to be barreling into the paint the whole time. So LeBron James, being the king stat patter that he is, he gets a lot of rebounds of missed threes and uncontested rebounds, whereas Valanciunas will be in there. Zion's going to be attacking the paint, looking for offensive boards. Probably quite difficult for LeBron to get boards based off what we've seen so far this season. So I like this spot for LeBron. The odds, minus 132, I do not love, but I'll do a little bit of line shopping on if I can see what I can come up with. The other play could do, if the odds are shit for LeBron James, you can take a same game parlay and take him for under 7.5 rebounds, but over 4 rebounds. So 4+ rebounds for LeBron. Just to show you, the odds for that are terrible, but he's gone over 4 rebounds in 94% of games this season. 67 of 71 games. So if the odds for the under 7.5 are not great, you can add for him to get at least 4 rebounds to that, and that should eat up some of the juice. So that's what I'm thinking about for LeBron James. The other players, obviously Trey Murphy, CJ, I've been betting them every single time, but if there's a chance Brandon Ingram's going to play, I can't fuck around with that. I think that's just too crazy. But someone that I'm willing to take a bet on here is Zion Williamson. And I'm looking at his points prop here, 25.5 points. Where the hell are you? Here it is. Now, Zion, he's covered 25.5 points in 7 of his last 10 games, averaging 27 points a night. He does have a good matchup here against the Lakers, who allow the fourth most points to power forwards on the season. Zion playing about 36 minutes, taking about 18.5 shot attempts per game. As of late, shot attempts have been up, but obviously Brandon Ingram, right? But if we take a look at his games, he's probably the only player who doesn't sacrifice when Brandon Ingram is there. So check that out. 5 out of his last 10 games with Brandon Ingram in the lineup, he has cashed this line. If we look at the head-to-head numbers against the Lakers with Brandon Ingram in the lineup. So like I said, he's played the Lakers 3 times this year. This first game against the Lakers only scored 13 points. This was the game where the Lakers absolutely blew them out. LeBron was drawing charges all over the place, and Zion did not know what to do. He adjusted the following time after that, scoring 26. Then he scored 30 points against the Lakers. In both of those games, we had a healthy Brandon Ingram in the lineup. Brandon Ingram may play, but I don't think he's going to play 30 to 35 minutes, even if he does. So I still think Zion, he's going to be the key point in their attack and in their offense. They don't have anybody. Rui, LeBron, they ain't going to stop Zion Williamson. So I do like his points prop in this. I'll investigate it a little bit further. We'll see where we go. But yeah, those are just my thoughts. The next game, the Dallas Mavericks versus the Oklahoma City Thunder. Now, Dallas resting everybody. What's the line in this game? 15 and 20 points? 19 points. So PJ Washington, Luka Doncic, Dante Exum, Daniel Gafford, Kyrie Irving, Maxi Kleber, Jones, Derek Lively, all out for this game. OKC not resting a goddamn soul. Every motherfucker and their dog's going to be playing in this game because it's a pretty important game for OKC. Now, what does it mean for OKC? So they currently, I think they're sitting second or tied with the Timberwolves and the Denver Nuggets. The highest they can finish is first. The lowest they can finish is third. They do own the tiebreaker over the Nuggets, but the Timberwolves has the tiebreaker over both of them. So pretty much OKC, if they win and Denver win and Minnesota lose, they get the number 1 seed. Oh, jeez, I can't bother going through all this. They can go from 1 to 3. Put it that way. But OKC are going to win this game, right? They're 19-point favorites. Let's not spend too much time on it. Because of that, Dallas not playing nobody. OKC going to be fucking around out there. I can't have any confidence taking any of these picks in this game. You could look at something in the first quarter for this one because at least you know the starters are going to be there. What's been a good play is there hasn't really been a good first quarter play for the OKC Thunder. You could look at Chet perhaps in the first quarter. They got Dwight Powell playing at center. So you could see Chet for over 3.5 points, perhaps. He's cashed that in 4 of his last 5, which is nice. 7 out of his last 10. And he's cashed in 2 of his last 3 against Dallas. So last game against Dallas, he scored nothing. Problem is, Chet only plays about, 6 or 7 minutes in the first quarter? Yeah, 6.7 minutes. So you need him to make 2 buckets in that time frame. I don't hate this play, but again, I'm not going to force them play out on this late. There's so many games. It's an absolute schmozzle. It's a fucking scam. The amount of people that are out not playing could be playing less minutes here or there. It's a bit too wild for me, so I'm not going to get too crazy with it. Josh Giddey, 3.5 first quarter points. Now, if I see a fellow Australian on here, I'm going to look for a way to now. Josh Giddey has been an animal, averaging 5.9 points per game in the first quarter. Head-to-head. 2 out of his last 5, but again, this isn't the same Dallas team you're probably used to. So this guy scored 11 points in his last game in the first quarter. So I'm going to look into Josh Giddey. The reason why is he can get very aggressive in scoring. I mean, not just in general, he gets aggressive scoring the ball. So Josh Giddey, I'll check him out, see how many shots he's taken. But yeah, nothing major in that game. This last game of the slate should be an absolute banger provided everybody plays. It's the Phoenix Suns versus Minnesota Timberwolves. The Timberwolves do have Anthony Edwards and Karl Anthony Towns as game time decisions though, but it is a very important game for the Timberwolves because they own the tiebreaker over the Nuggets and the Thunder. If they win, they're number 1 in the West, which is going to be crucial throughout the playoffs to have home court advantage. So hopefully those guys can and make this as entertaining as it can be. For the Phoenix Suns, they can clinch the 6th seed if they win and the Pelicans lose, or they'll fall to 7 if they lose or the Pelicans win. So pretty important game for the Phoenix Suns as well. That's why everybody's expected to play. So in terms of picks for this game, though, the Minnesota Timberwolves are such a good team defensively. It's really hard to find a play here for the Phoenix Suns. And obviously Anthony Edwards and Karl Anthony Towns, game time decisions. You can't take any bets on Timberwolves right now anyway, because that's a risky play on its own. So the only play that I guess I lean towards in this game, because I think it's got potential for some big upside here, is Yusuf Nurkic to go over his assist prop. So I think his line in this one is 3.5. See if my memory was correct or not. Yusuf Nurkic, yes, 3.5 minus 110. So over his last 10 games, he's cashed this 6 times, averaging 4.7 assists per game. The Minnesota Timberwolves, they don't allow too many assists. They allow the fewest assists on the season. But they do allow the 14th fewest assists to centers, which is middle of the pack, meaning they don't allow many assists to many players and positions, but centers and point guards. Now, Yusuf Nurkic, there's quite a few European players who are like Nikola Jokic, but from Walmart or Kmart. There's a lot of cheap versions of Nikola Jokic, and Yusuf Nurkic, you could say he's one of them. He's a pretty skilled big guy. Big fucking guy, though. But he's capable of getting some assists. So that's why I don't mind this play. He's, 4.7 over his last 10. Has a pretty decent matchup. And he's also the Wolves in assists this season. 2 games against Minnesota. He's had 4 assists and 6 assists in those 2 games, playing on average 25 minutes a night. For his last 10 games, he's playing 28 minutes a night. Played over 30 minutes in his last 3 games. So up against Rudy Gobert here, he might see another 30-minute night. For him to get 3.5 assists, I do not mind that. He's done it twice already against them. The matchup's not too bad. His recent form is pretty decent. And he's got shooters all over the floor. Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, Grayson Allen, Kevin Durant. He's got shooters all around him. So there could be some opportunities here for Yusuf Nurkic to get some assists. So I don't mind that one. So what I planned to make a really short video, because I didn't like a lot of saw on the slate, ended up being about 40 to 45 minutes long. So, hey, or maybe I talk too much. But really excited to just have some NBA back. We had the 1 day off. Ready to get back into it. Check the pinned comment now if you want to. See if my best bets are still there. Aren't there yet. But I'm looking to be a little bit conservative in this one. Hopefully I don't land on every single lean that I have, because, this slate is just crazy. Play-in tournament is coming soon. So letting you guys know the preview for the play-in tournament games, I'm going to go through every single player. So we're going to go back to what we used to do. We'll go through every player. We'll go through their main props. We'll talk about what's good and what isn't. Then we'll see what we come up with. With a slate like this, it would have been impossible for me to do so. We also should hit 6,000 subscribers, which is pretty amazing. I had about 1,000 or probably less than 1,000 subscribers at Christmas, and then things have completely turned a corner. It's changed my whole outlook on things, so pretty excited to see what the future holds. Also, if anybody's interested in creating or collaborating on some content, or if there's anybody out there who does MLB content or NFL content, or if you're somebody who doesn't have a YouTube channel but would like to start one, let me know. Jump into my Discord, send me a direct message, or message me on Instagram. Let me know if that's something you'd be keen for, because I'm looking to collaborate with a lot more people. And being completely honest, I don't know shit about MLB. So if I could find somebody who does know about it, I reckon we can put together a pretty good show here on YouTube. So let me know. Other than that, gamble responsibly, lads. 15 games. A lot of bullshit's going to happen. Best of luck to you. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.
Sub to the channel cause your boy's getting busy. Coming to your line from the west side of Sydney. We've got the free picks and the juice and the daily. It's all free, you don't even have to pay me.